This is Dr. Al. I'm going to make another of my famous presentations, and I'm going to try to remember to look at the camera occasionally. I've been chided on the fact that I tend to look at the TV screen, which is where I find my image, and that may tell you something more about me than you ought to know. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about brothers. Some of us have one or more. Others, including me, were not lucky or unlucky enough to have a brother. I had a sister, but that relationship frames other stories just as sister-sister connections might. History, literature, language, even entertainment seem weighted with references to brothers. There are Cain and Abel in the Bible, Joseph and his brothers, the brothers Karamazov, brothers in arms, Frank and Jesse, the Youngers, Daltons, Earps, and an assortment of other good guys and bad guys from history and literature. Older brothers are often jealous of those who follow them and may torment their younger brothers, as so often depicted in the Three Stooges, Moe and Curly, plus a number of other thirds. This photo very likely could have been inspired by one of the Stooges' publicity photos, a pretty noteworthy one with Curly on the ground, a soccer ball on his head, and Moe standing behind getting ready to kick the ball. Whatever the case, whether inspired by the Stooges or not, this one I think, was inspired by somebody other than the probable brother depicted in the photo. This is not likely to be something that a person of that age would come up with. The imagery is not quite consistent with his youth, so it probably came from the person behind the camera, whom I will guess is dad, an uncle, and possibly an older brother. Notice I'm suggesting that all the sources of inspiration and photography is being done by a male, because this is a guy kind of thing. This is not what Mama would be likely doing with her precious little boy. One of my favorite stories from the memoirs I've read, talking about this relationship of first tormentor, is that of the younger brother who was assured by his older that his penis would grow if he rubbed chicken manure on it. That same older brother then one time took his younger brother with his friends and filled his overalls with sand, tying them off and abandoning him to try and work himself out of that trap. That kind of story reminds us that the first murder recorded in history in the Bible is a fratricide, and Joseph is also the victim of his older brothers, and there are other such instances in Scripture and, of course, in history and literature as well. On the other hand, a frequent biblical trope involves the younger brother supplanting the older. I'm not sure that these stories of tension, though, are representative. I know of some important exceptions. I grew up, for instance, with the Busby brothers, Leslie, Leland, and Lauren Vance, who were the younger siblings of Lewis and Lawrence, and I always saw them as mutually supportive and even willing to welcome another into their mix. So it's a complex relationship, but my poem focuses on one aspect of these kinds of relationships. It's entitled Brothers. Little Moe teaching little Curly. First tormentor, first bully. You are not king of this hill. You were not first. There will always be those stronger, maybe smarter as well. Little Jessie likely received comparable lessons from little Frank, but always knew that Frank had his back, even when he was wrong. Groucho, the leader, not Chico or Harpo. Curly, the one the audiences loved. Almost certainly the one Mama liked best.